Welcome to another episode of our show. In our new retro games reviews this week, we have three amazing games, with first one the Fast and Furious Chikubi Ninja for the MSX2 systems, followed by the absolutely incredible remake of the classic Dig Dug 2 for the Commodore Amiga computers. Our third and final new retro game review this week is for the wonderful Pulplife, a platform adventure game for the ZX Spectrum 128K. In our hardware review, we take a closer look at the Trimui Brick Hammer, portable retro gaming console, a little wonder that is true to its name, and we find the pros and cons of owning it. Our DOS and WinVolt open up again to reveal the addictive and incredibly well-made Speakerman by SektorZ, a love letter to everything CGA. We also remember one of the classic strategy games of the DOS era, the hard but great and fair Panzer General by SSI. Our retro adventure reviews Hexapucchu, an interesting adventure game for the Amstrad CPC, and in our Retrospect review, we look back to a work of art of a game, the majestic LOOM by Brian Moriarty. Finally, our history lesson, having left behind the wars, looks back to the story that proves that even industry leaders like Nintendo can make grave mistakes. So, we remember the tragedy of the Virtual Boy. Well, let's begin another trip down memory lane. Welcome to our new retro games reviews, and we begin with the amazing run-and-gun platformer Chikubi Ninja by Imanok for the MSX2 computers. The game was a successful entry in the MSX Dev 25 contest, and it is quite an entry too. You play as the last Chikubi Ninja, who is out for vengeance for the destruction of your village by a rival clan. The game is an auto-scrolling platformer that could be described as run-and-gun or platform shoot-'em-up. It has a colorful and detailed graphics and great animation that shows what the often overlooked MSX2 platform could really do. The game has a great smooth scrolling speed too, and the action is continuous. You must destroy every enemy that comes your way, or avoid them successfully whilst collecting coins and ammo. You must be careful not to overspend your shurikens, as if they ran out, you must face your enemies face to face with your katana and raise your reflex level even higher. The music is an Oriental-style beat theme and really livens up the action. On the same level are the sound effects as well. The controls are simple and they won't give you any trouble, as they are the standard platform fare and quite responsive as well. On to the rankings, and the graphics receive a 9.2. The controls, a 9. The music and sound effects, a 9.1. And the gameplay, a 9.1, for a total of 9.1. Chikubi Ninja is a fast, fun, and well-made game that will keep you entertained. It's definitely worth a look. Our second review today is for an amazing remake for the Commodore Amiga computers. This is Dig Dug 2 by Jotted 666. This is, of course, a remake for the Amiga of the classic arcade game of 1985, originally released by Namco, that saw home releases only for the NES and the mighty Sharp X68000. This conversion, though, is simply amazing, as it is incredibly faithful to the original arcade experience, and it goes head-to-head with the also incredible X68000 port. The graphics are beautifully drawn with vibrant colors and great animations. The classic music theme is here, as are the sound effects. The gameplay mechanisms are in place and there is nothing deviating from the original recipe. The controls are quite good, although I found them a bit stiff and slow to response, but that only happened occasionally, so it might just be a bug that will be ironed out further on by the developer. The game comes both in floppy and WHD load form, so it's easy to run either on real hardware or on emulation software. The rankings are as follows: Graphics 9.4, Controls 8.7, Music and sound effects 9.1, and Gameplay 9.2, for a total of 9.1. An amazing remake for the Amiga of a true classic game. Give it a go! Our third and last new retro game review this week is for the Pulplife, a platform adventure game for the ZX Spectrum by Johnny Storm. This is a game originally developed for the Game Park GP32, but never completed development on that platform. It's now brought to the good old Specky, and it's all the better for the old-timers' fans, as this is a very entertaining and well-made game. You play the big brother of a huge octopus family, and you are charged with the task of reuniting your siblings that have been drifted away by the ocean's currents. The game packs some very detailed and beautiful graphics, and the screen is filled with wonderful colors that manage to avoid the infamous color clash issue almost always. There is a great in-game tune that accompanies your character on this adventure that, even though is consistent, it never becomes tiresome or boring. The sound effects are simple but functional and well made. You should have no issues with the controls as well, as they are precise and perfectly made, so every time you lose an energy point is entirely your fault and not some silly game control issue. In other words, both the controls and the gameplay are well made and fair, with great and accurate collision detection. The game's rankings are as follows. The graphics receive a 9.2, the controls a 9.3, the music and sound effects an 8.9, and the gameplay a 9.2, for a total of 9.2. An amazing and entertaining sea adventure that deserves more than a drop of your time. Welcome to this week's hardware review. For you this week we have the Trimui Brick Hammer, an amazing new portable device for you to play your emulators. Now let's see the package. We have here the main console in a very beautiful package and a wonderful green color. This is a very, very sturdy construction. It has a very good finish. It's metallic. It's full metallic. It's one of the highest qualities I've seen. Let's see here. We also have some replacements for the triggers. 2 packages actually. The manual, it's a folding little manual in English and Chinese. Trimui is a Chinese company. There's more replacement triggers. They're easy to install. And a USB charging and communications, file transfer cable for you to transfer your ROMs and emulators. This is a wonderful machine. Now let's see a little more in detail. We have SD card. We have, yes, here you can put your SD card. This is a USB charging. This is for headphones. No Bluetooth support. This little, this little button here is the reset button. We have volume up and volume down buttons here. This is the power on. It's a lighted key here. And this is a multifunction key. These are the triggers. They're very nice to the touch and clicky. It's easy to install the replacements, should you want to. The fitness, like I said, is excellent, and the feeling of the machine is sturdy. It's a very nice construct. And, as you will see, it has a wonderful screen. Let's go see it. Now, we're gonna turn this on from here, the power button. Sometimes you need a little more to press it. I have installed newly. The stock firmware was not bad, but it did lack some functions I needed. And newly is much easier to handle and much easier to set up. It was a breeze, actually, to set it up. These areas here are lighted as you play, but you can control that. These 2 buttons as well. You can control them from software. Now, here we go. The screen, if you can see it, it's an IPS screen. It's an amazing IPS screen of 3.2 inches. The controls are really responsive. They have a very good feeling to them. I haven't scraped most collections yet, so we don't see many images and animations. It had some pre-installed. Let me find a collection of files. You do see, I believe, in the video, the screen, the colors, the response. It's amazing. It's one of the highest quality screens I've ever seen. Now, let's run something here. It's an Atari 5200 game. These 2 are custom keys. You can customize them as you want. Now let's turn up the volume a bit here. Now I don't know if you can hear it good. As you can see, let me raise it a bit more. This is a wonderful screen. I know I said it before, but the console didn't take that long to set up. I do not suggest you keep the stock firmware. There are a lot of emulators that did not work. RetroArch is beneath it all, as usual. There's a combination of keys to make it appear. Let me show you a game here. Specifically, let's go to Kid Dracula on the Game Boy, because I believe that in the Game Boy collection, and especially we're going to change our setting to grayscale, is where this screen shines, really shines when it runs. All right, now the combination for there. Let me go to Yeah, here, core options, and change into grayscale. I'm just doing this to show you there is a key you can use to make it there fast. There. Now you're gonna see that, oh my god, the screen is so amazing, especially when you play Game Boy games in grayscale. Honestly, it's up there amongst the best screens. Now, like I said before, definitely use Newly or another alternative. The stock firmware has serious problems recognizing all platforms. It needs too much customization. There, it's amazing. And in general, these pocket consoles do have issues mostly with computer platforms. I don't know why. Let's go back out. And of course, it's the classic retro arc beneath it. This is an excellent the feeling of the console. Let's shut it down and go sum it up a bit, because we have a few words to say. It shuts down fairly fast. Let's go see this amazing console. Sum up our findings. Now, as I said, this is a wonderful console. I do suggest you use custom firmware. There are issues with various computer platforms in these portable devices. I do not know why this happens, but this is the second best in total with as far as compatibility is concerned. The quality is amazing. It's a cheap device for what it provides. I think it's one of the best machines I've seen this year, and I definitely recommend it, and for us it's definitely a thumbs up. Welcome to the DOS and Win Vault, and this is Speakerman by SektorZ. This is an incredible classic platformer that, even though it runs in modern Windows, it is by all means and purposes a DOS game. It uses a CGA engine in all its glory, and frankly, it looks great, not in spite of that, but because of it. It also utilizes an amazing intro soundtrack and also in-game music on various stages that is also, frankly, wonderful. The concept of the game is based in a combination of platform puzzle solving, the classic what to use to reach that higher platform, an items collection logic, both for score and for various uses, and the good old Jet Set Willy formula. It can be played as an open-world game or a story-based. Yes, you heard right, open world. One of the two gameplay options is to wander around freely in the enormous game's two-dimensional map, trying to find all the objects necessary to unlock it all. Go everywhere, see everything, and even uncover secret areas. Seeing the game for the first time, it's frankly quite hard to imagine that it packs so much gameplay in it, but it does. The controls are simple, and you'll own them in less than a minute. The graphics, as mentioned before, are great for the CGA mode that it is utilizing, and I would dare say that it almost looks like it uses the CGA composite mode in many places. The animation is also great, and there are a variety of characters to meet and interact with. As we said earlier, there are two game modes, with open world being one and story mode the other, where you follow a story trying to explore the world in parallel. The story mode is in a bit of harder level of difficulty, but in all due honesty, it's the open world mode that's gonna amaze you. On to the rankings now, and the graphics receive an 8.9. The controls a 9.3. The music and sound effects a 9.5. And the gameplay a 9.7. For a total of 9.4 and the title of the Game of the Week. Don't let its CGA looks fool you. This is a genuine, addictive and fun game that will climb to the top of your list in no time. There was a time that no one could beat a company named SSI in strategy and RPG games, and we'll look back into that time with our retrospect review today. This is Panzer General by Strategic Simulations, aka SSI. Panzer General is a turn-based strategy game based on the hex map gameplay. On it, you get to move your units once a turn based on the movement ability of its kind, the terrain morphology, and, if it uses, the fuel available. Other factors also affect the movement of the unit depending on the unit's type. For instance, aerial units are affected by cloudy or stormy weather, ground units by rain and mud, and so on. All these parameters can be changed or completely deactivated at the user's will. The game introduces a gameplay mechanic that became quite popular later with the Advance War series of games on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance console, combining strategy and cool battle animations in our rock, paper, scissors logic. We should mention though that the first form of this type of strategy games was first introduced with the Rebel Star game way back in 1984 for the ZX Spectrum, albeit in a rudimentary form. The graphics of the game for the 1994 period that came out are great, and they work in a high resolution. The units are quite detailed, and the animations showing the battles between units are great, but you can turn them off if you want to speed up the gameplay. The music and the briefing speech were great, especially back then, but it should be noted that the speech option is only available in the CD-ROM version only. The gameplay is addictive and the computer AI is fierce and very smart, anticipating the player's strategies more often than not, so prepare yourself for a challenge. The game is played entirely with a mouse and it's quite easy to control. The game's success followed the birth of a Generals franchise with more titles like the People's General, Pacific General, and even a Fantasy General game with equally good results. The rankings are as follows. Graphics 9. The controls receive a 9.1. The music and sound effects a 9.1 as well. And the gameplay a 9.3 for a total of 9.1. This is hardcore strategy at its purest form, and revisiting Panzer General will reward you with a fun and challenging experience. Welcome to our Retro Adventures reviews, and we begin with Hexapucchu, An amazing but tough as nails graphical text adventure game for the Amstrad CPC series of computers by Titan. This is a unique adventure game in the sense that you don't get to type any commands or control a character directly, but rather in the classic choose-your-own-adventure interactive book style, you are given a description of a situation, the area that you're in, and then given a series of options to choose from. Some will lead further into the story, some will provide you with information necessary to proceed, and some will kill you right off. And trust us when we say, in Hexapucchu, you will die a lot. The graphics of the game are quite impressive, utilizing the CPC palette fully and displaying some pretty impressive, albeit static, images. There is a main intro soundtrack that is quite good, but beyond that, probably to keep the game running in non-upgraded CPCs, things are pretty quiet. The controls, of course, won't be any problem, as all you have to do is pick one of the choices displayed on the screen whilst trying to anticipate the result or consequences. Based on this logic, the puzzles are more of a try and error than actual puzzle solving, but the description of its area and situation is quite good. The rankings are Graphics 9.2, Puzzles 6, Music and Sound Effects 7, Gameplay 7, for a total of 7.3. If you're looking for a relaxed and at the same time tough adventure game for your CPC, Hexapucchu is the one for you. In our retrospect, we look back into one of the most beautiful and innovative adventure games ever to grace the computer game market. This is Lucasfilm Games' LOOM by Brian Moriarty. LOOM is one of a kind when it comes to gameplay, as it doesn't even have any icons in the classic point-and-click sense, or any text input. You get to interact with the game's puzzles instead by playing tunes that you learn from within the game's story. So, a unique approach that makes the game wonderful and gives it a gameplay that is yet to be topped. Your lead character, Bobbin Threadbare, is set on a course of events to face chaos itself on a future Earth way forward in the year 8021. But don't go in expecting spaceships and lasers. This is an Earth pulled out of a fairy tale, full of spells, swans, and... well, now, don't let us ruin the one-of-a-kind story for you. The graphics of the game look like they came out of a painting sometimes. They are colorful and incredible for their time, and they have wonderful animation scenes. The controls, once you get a grip of the philosophy of the game, are as good as it gets, and puzzles of the game are smart and, of course, quite musical. Talking about music, the music and sound effects of the game are a work of art, and I suggest you track down the CD version of the game. You won't regret it. The story and the gameplay is addictive, and you'll want to push through and find out the conclusion. This was one of Lucasfilm's game's finest moments. As for the rankings, the graphics receive a 9.2. The puzzles, a 9.2. The music and sound effects, a 9.5. And the gameplay, a 9.3, for a total of 9.3. Lucasfilm's game's finest moment is also one of the greatest adventure games ever, unique in its gameplay and concept that will provide you with many unforgettable moments of fun and adventuring. Do not miss it. We've seen enough success or near success stories lately in our history lessons. It's time to look into a product tragedy, and what product better fits the description than the black sheep of the Nintendo family. This is the tragic story of Nintendo's Virtual Boy. One can wonder, how did the successful and intuitive designer Gunpei Yokoi, father of Game & Watch series of handhelds, creator of the most successful portable console ever, the Game Boy, and executive producer of hits like the legendary Donkey Kong and Metroid series, created such a mess of a system? Well, things didn't happen exactly like that, and the late Yokoi is not the one to take the blame here, but rather the marketing suits of Nintendo and the always hard-headed president Hiroshi Yamauchi. The concept of a VR device started way back in 1985 when Reflection Technology Incorporated, an American company, developed a prototype stereoscopic head-tracking 12-inch display device. Looking for funds, it ended up on Nintendo's door, and with Gunpei's advisement as head of the R&D 1 department back then, the company purchased the exclusive rights to this technology called the Private Eye. Gunpei saw in the Private Eye a unique and hard-to-replicate technology that would give Nintendo, once properly developed into a commercial product, an edge technologically, and also the ability to not only have the first entry, but to generate a new gaming market. It took Gunpei and his department 4 years to develop a working prototype and get the final okay to proceed with the creation of a marketable unit based on that. At the time of the unit's transformation from a prototype to a ready-made market product, VR was all the buzz in the gaming industry. Sega tried its head with a proposed and prototype Sega Mega Drive VR unit, but that fell through. Even Atari tried to develop internally a VR unit for its upcoming Jaguar console, but we all know how that went. But there were bumps on the road for Nintendo as well. The original prototype, conceived by Gunpei Yokoi, had a motion tracking function based on the Private Eye's original concept. When studies prove that such technology is still in its infancy, causing severe motion sickness and even a lazy eye condition to some children, Nintendo's Yamauchi killed the motion tracking function immediately. The unit also had a red LED, because Gunpei believed that the red and black contrast creates a more immense sense for the eye, enhancing the VR illusion. But, as any good ophthalmologist will tell you, extensive exposure of the eyes to the red color causes fatigue for the optical nerve and could lead to dizziness and other conditions. With the elimination of the head tracking function, also the device was turned from a wearable VR headset into a stationary VR goggles hybrid that had to be placed to a table in order to use. Color LEDs were considered at one point, but that would catapult the cost of the device way above $500, a cost equivalent to today's $1,030 that would have turned the device into a niche market product. To make matters worse for the console, Nintendo had already approved and started developing the Super NES successor, the Nintendo 64, also named Ultra 64 or Project Reality as it was known internally, allocating resources almost by an 80% factor to it, leaving Yokoi and his team with little room and means to improve the VR32 as it was known at the time. Gunpei Yokoi had no intention of releasing the product in the form it had taken, but Hiroshi Yamauchi and the Nintendo executives were adamant that the product had to come out to close the chapter of its development and allocate the remaining resources to Project Reality. Even worse yet, the lead game creator of Nintendo and game designer celebrity Shigeru Miyamoto had little to no involvement in the software development for the VR32, and that led to some pretty lackluster titles for the poor console. Nonetheless, Nintendo VR32, now renamed Virtual Boy, was launched on 21st of July 1995 at the steep price of $179.99. Nintendo heavily promoted the console that did have a number of firsts, including the fact that it was the first Nintendo console to have a 32-bit processor. But this wasn't enough. The Virtual Boy was panned almost immediately, both by the press and the gamers. The device was found to be awkward to use, the base was prone to break with little use, the controller was considered mediocre, and the worst part was the VR component of the console. Even though the console was downgraded significantly from its original form and the tracking functionality cancelled, the console still caused discomfort and dizziness upon extended use, or sometimes even in short bursts of gaming. The need also to place it stationary on a table was seen as negating VR philosophy. The price was considered high for what it offered, and the gaming library poor. Soon the console was labeled a complete and utter catastrophe, and that led to a huge fight and disagreement between Nintendo's president Hiroshi Yamauchi and Gunpei Yokoi, with the latter leaving the company in the end. The Virtual Boy was killed off by Nintendo in Japan by December 1995 and in the US by August of 1996, less than a year of its introduction. It remains to this day the darkest page on Nintendo's record, and the company tries its best not to repeat history ever again. But what about Gunpei? Well, he went on to work with Bandai Namco and design and develop a console that would compete against his greatest creation, the Game Boy. He created the Bandai WonderSwan, another innovative console that was the first to... But that is a story for another time.